This lecture is going to cover the elements and principles of design and how that relates to graphic communication. So to start, we have two different areas. We have the elements of design and the principles of design. And these are really universal areas that are discussed in all kinds of different design environments, such as in the art world, the graphic design world, communication world, and that's why we're discussing it here. And so we have 4 elements and 4 principles. So we're going to talk about the elements first. And the elements are the basic parts that make up design. And the 4 elements are color, line, shape, and texture. So when we're talking about the elements, we're really analyzing a design. We're kind of breaking it apart and looking at each individual element. So let's start with that. And we're going to start with color. And so we have 3 different properties of colors. First of all, we have the hue, which is the name given to a color. We have the value, how light or dark the color is. And as you can see on this scale here, if we add more white, then our value gets lighter. As we add more dark or black, then the value gets darker. And then we also have the saturation, which is the amount of hue in a color. So we can vary the amount of red that we include, and that's going to change the color. So the combination of these 3 things can give us a whole variety of different colors. When you think about the color possibilities that are out there, it's really mind-boggling. There are so many different specific little colors that you can get. When you go to a paint store and you pick up a paint chip or you look at the whole display, it really is mind-boggling how many different colors are out there and available. So we have, in order to kind of be able to articulate specific colors, we have color systems. And those are systems that assign a number or code to each color. One common example of a color system is the Pantone system, which is probably one of the most widely used color systems out there. Within the color systems, there are different color codes to help us to identify specific colors. Here you can see a screenshot of Photoshop, and when we pick different colors, you can go along here and it will give the different codes for that particular color. So in this case, the HSB, the hue, saturation, and brightness, those are what we just referred to in the previous slide. We can also identify color by RGB, red, green, and blue, and the amount of red, green, and blue in each of the color. We can also identify color by CMYK, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and the key color. And so in Photoshop, as I were to move my color picker around here to different colors, you could see each one of these numbers and these percentages changing. We're also given a specific color code at the bottom here. And so what these allow us to do is to be able to communicate specifically what color. So we can't just say, oh, I'd like a gold color, because there are hundreds of thousands of variations of a gold color. And so this allows us to make sure that we have the exact same. So if we're painting our house, we run out of paint, we need to go back to the store to get another gallon of paint, we want to be sure that that gallon of paint that we're getting is going to match the rest of our house. In the design world, we want to make sure that we're using the same colors consistently. So for example, at Fort Hays, here we have a tiger gold color. There's a specific color that we want to use for gold, and we want that to be consistent. Whether we are designing a billboard to go on the interstate, whether we are printing a t-shirt, whether we are putting something on our website, we want to use the same gold on each one of those areas. And by having the same code, using the same codes, we can have the same color in all the areas. So we have 2 different types of colors. We have additive colors and subtractive colors. Additive colors are colors that are created by mixing light. And these are created by basically any light generating source. The sun is kind of the basic light generating source, but then we also have a lot of electronic light generating sources or things that are run by electricity. For example, a light. Obviously, a fixture on the ceiling, it generates light. Our monitors, our cell phone screens, those all generate light. And so those colors use the standard additive colors, and the 3 primary additive colors are red, green, and blue, which is where we get the RGB. And as you can see in the graphic here, when we combine those 3 colors, we get white. Okay, so as we have light being created, if we have white light, that's a combination of all different colors, or we can separate them out to get different colors. And so our TV screens, they use the combination of those three colors to produce the light that we see on a TV. They've even started to implement a fourth color to that combination to try to even create more accurate light that's given off by the TV. But those are the three colors. Any light generating source uses the additive colors. On the other hand, we have subtractive colors, which are colors that are created by subtracting or absorbing light. Basically, anything that is not generating light is going to be either absorbing or reflecting light. And so that's how we see color on most things, whether it's the color on a shirt, it's a color on the wall, it's a color on a piece of paper, on a book. We see that color because the colors that are on there are either absorbing the other colors and reflecting back. So you see a green sweater here because the makeup of the material is absorbing all other colors and reflecting a green color. And so these colors, we use the cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, or the CMYK. And as you see on the graphic here, our cyan is kind of a light blue, magenta kind of a darker pink color, and the yellow obviously yellow. The combination of these three produces a black color. And this is how paint or ink works. When you think about if you have an inkjet printer and you go and you buy cartridges for that inkjet printer, you buy two different cartridges. You have one cartridge that's specifically for the black, and then you have a color cartridge. And if you look on there, you'll see that it incorporates three different colors, the cyan, magenta, and the yellow. And out of those four colors, we get all the possible colors that we need in terms of producing that print on that piece of paper. They come from those three different colors. The reason you have two cartridges, you could have that color cartridge and you could combine all three of those and get black, but that uses a lot of ink. So by having a separate black cartridge, you're able to use your ink more efficiently on that particular printer. Alright, so then we have a color wheel, which shows how colors are related to one another. In the color wheel, we have three primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. And they're primary because they cannot be produced by mixing other colors, and they are the source of all other colors. Then we have secondary colors, which are produced by mixing primary colors. So if we mix yellow and red, we get orange, or we mix red and blue, we get purple, and so forth. Then we have the tertiary colors, which are produced by mixing a primary and secondary. So in this case, if we were to mix the red and the purple, we would get a red-purple tertiary color here. And so the color wheel helps us to identify colors and see how they relate to one another. And lastly, on colors, they're important to consider because they affect our feelings or moods. Color has been found to change how you feel. When you see a color, there's feelings that are given off within you. Your brain interprets it in different ways based on the colors. So we have warm colors that are kind of the red, the orange, and the yellow. And those colors have a lot of energy, have a lot of passion, love, strength, those types of things to them. As compared to we have calm colors like our greens and our blues that are a little more peaceful, calming, and smooth for us. Purples tend to be associated with royalty or wisdom. Black, power and sophistication, whereas white is more hope and simplicity and so forth, purity, etc. And so colors affect how we feel. Research has found that certain colors make you hungry, and those colors being red and yellow. And when you think about fast food restaurants, most of them incorporate either red or yellow or both into their color scheme, because the research shows that when you see those colors that it makes your appetite grow, it makes you more hungry. And obviously when you see their signage, they want you to feel hungry and encourage you to come in and purchase food from them. So when thinking about a design, you want to think about what is the feeling or mood that you want to give off by this particular message, and take that into account when you're picking your colors. Okay, the second element that we have are lines, and lines give direction to a design. And so vertical lines draw our eyes up and down, and they give a feeling of awe or challenge. We have horizontal lines that go side to side, so that draws our eyes side to side and makes things look wider than they might be. We have diagonal lines that add interest to a design, And then we have curved lines that provide kind of a soft and relaxing feel to it. So we can use lines in different ways to kind of try to help shape or make our design look differently. And so, if we have a really tall vertical design, we may add in some horizontal lines that will help kind of draw your eyes side to side and make it so it's not so tall. Or vice versa, if we have a really wide structure, for example, and to kind of eliminate that look that it's just really, really short and wide, we can try to put some real distinct vertical lines in there that help draw your eyes up and down to make it look taller than it really is. We could add diagonal lines for interest, and you kind of look at some of the examples down here where we have some real distinct diagonal lines that they're kind of very interesting as compared to our curved lines here, like you see, or the circle. Those kind of have more of a soft and relaxing look to them. The third element of design is shape, and those are created when lines enclose a space. And we can have all kinds of different shapes that are created, and based on the lines that are incorporated in the design, those can have different effects on how we feel or kind of the way that our eyes visualize that particular design. And then the fourth element of design is texture. And texture refers to the surface of an object and how that object feels. Dots and lines can help create texture. So in graphic communication, in many cases, we don't have necessarily a physical product that somebody's going to feel, but what we can do with the way that we organize our lines and our shapes is that we can generate that feeling. So if we're wanting something to be really strong looking, really very sturdy, stable, we can kind of give it a more of a rough look to it. Versus if we want something to be kind of more smooth, more glassy, we can use kind of some more curved lines within the design to kind of give it that smooth. So that covers the four elements of design. We have colors, line, shapes, and texture. And so the following lecture will cover the other four principles of design.